Well, you know it's not a good sign when Marine Law's in chat with the Monk-esque the Abba pick. But that's where we're at. Ladies and gents, welcome back to the Midweek Muster. Game number 4. After this, we go into a bracket recess in this grand finals. And in KPMM 10, B is on track to make it a 3-time win streak. Dumu definitely looking a lot more formidable than he did last week, though. Got to give that to him. Got to give him the appropriate praise here. He's been stepping it up. But he's going to have to bleach that last game from his mind. B's obsession with Springles reached an all-time peaker. Let's see if we get there this time around. H3 definitely not one of the civs he typically goes to Pro Scouts with, but one that he might consider going into mine work with. What rank am I? I don't have a rank, mate. You'll literally check my profile. We haven't bothered. We've only done some quick match games occasionally. I think it's like 1,300 elo, maybe. So Scout Hole looking pretty bloody good to kick off, actually, for Dimu. Up to 18 already. B's only sitting at 12. However, yeah, if he scours the entire side of Dimu's side of the map, he should be able to equal it out. The issue is going to be you'll run out of sheep, right? Like, at this stage, I think he has to come back after touching the right corner. So Dimu should end up with about 65% sheep, which is really what you expect out of Abba. What I'm wondering is what we can expect on the wing choices. It's not just going to eco-wing this, right? Oh my god, he is doing it. I freaking love this guy. B, he's going for the Minework build. If you go eco-wing, I think this is a death sentence. Do you melee-wing? No, that sounds terrible. Like, what do you really get out of that? You know H3 is going to build units anyway, but he's going for it. So Dimu, I mean, I guess, like, eco-wing is too greedy. Military wing at least gives you some units. So his goal here should be melee-wing into stables, and then you have the initial advantage of having all unit arcs covered, right? Whereas B with Minework is likely just going to be opening stables, maybe archer range as well. We're still going to be getting Pro Scouts, I'm pretty sure of that. So this is tricky. Like, I think if B has to go archers, there's a disadvantage, and that's why Dimu's doing it. Because the build that B's going for is all about all pikes. So you need to get horsemen, spearmen. That's all you want to zerg. If you go archers, it's not as great. Like, you can get value by getting steeled arrow and just maxing them out. But the optimal route is just racks horseman blob. And with Minework, what you can also just do is you can get very efficient timing into making men-at-arms quite threatening as well with Pro Scouts. This could be a Burgrave angle. I don't think you rush castle here. Because your opponent's going multi-TC, it's better to actually attack him. With HRE's better economy at this stage, like it's such a value point in the game, right? So you can just Pro Scouts and shove. So let's talk about TC placements here, because Dimu doesn't really have any high value safe play. This berry is way too far away. He's likely going to be just dropping a TC on the gold in the trees. But this also means you've got a frontal TC, right? So the tricky part about doing these type of town centers against Minework is your opponent now has a really efficient timing into siege engineering. Remember, it only takes him 20 seconds. You get them 50% faster, right? And you get them 50% cheaper. What does that mean? That means he can have undermesh and siege engineering complete at a time where someone's probably just almost complete undermesh on its own. And here's going to be the archer range beginning. So this is the thing, right? Like I said, B optimally wanted to be Spears Horseman. Because it just, the whole idea is once you scale up to a value point, Bloomery into all pikes is busted. It's such a powerful timing. But because it's military wing, he can't. That's why Ben done this, right? I didn't feel like any of the options were great for him, but this was the best for that reason. And it also means that he's not going to get harassed when he's going for the TC build, right? Because the pressure point is now going to be on B side of the map. It's also nice if your opponent happens to be doing Pro Scouts, because it will slow him off his initial pump while you're going for your own grade. Yeah, I'd say, like, opening-wise, ways this could have gone, this is probably the best that Dimu could have hoped for. So it's a start that maybe leans some hope. It's quite funny, right? Because, like, you go back just a few months, well, even just 2 months, I'd say, definitely 3, people were harping on about how broken Abbasids were on repeat, right? Like, it was the busted civ. However, as soon as the Pro Scouts meta came in, Abba went from, like, even after the nerfs, they were maybe, like, solid, strong B, low A in some people's eyes. So I'd say, like, a C tier civ. And no one has Pro Scouts. But that should change in a moment. You can already see B stockpiling the gold. If he was going to spend it on blacksmith techs, he already would have spent it because they're so cheap. Second TC is going to be insanely safe from Dimmu. Yeah, we talked about the threat of the ram timing, right? If he went for the 4 TC, siege engineering into double ram is very doable for HRE. But now the trade-off is Dimmu's stuck in the age, he's going to have to contest. So if B plays long feudal, there's no threading of the needle here into castle because both golds are way too far away. There's the stables as well. He's still pretty good. I don't think Abba is that great. So the issue with Abba is like they inherently get countered by pro scouts. Because Abba's game plan always involves a line in the program which says town center, right? And I'm not saying queue villages out your town center. I'm saying you're going to build one. And I think that town center detail is very difficult to navigate and justify 2 town center versus pro scouts. Because what you're saying to me is while I have like infinite loads of food, you're going to now be burning through your safe food quicker and have to come out to me where I'll be able to outblob you. Cheaper pro scouts, it's the build that I theory crafted, right? Is that you would go culture wing into POC, and then the whole idea is like you've saved 100, you spent 100 resources to save 75 or 70 rather, but after that you then save 280 on a tech up. So it makes it kind of justifiable for fast castle, but like it still doesn't feel great. I'd say you have to be extra greedy and just do 2 TC pro scouts as Abba. In fact, actually, when we talked about it before, like survival techniques is also another, what, 20 resource saving. So like it adds up really quickly to be worth it for pro scouts POC. But I still think you need the second TC. You have to just take the opportunity to be really, really greedy. It's situational. It definitely won't work against like a civ like HRE because their economy is too strong. And check this from B, by the way. Wait, are we getting treated to one of his other fun builds? Is it still barding time? We might have a still barding build here, guys. We've seen this from B before. I think we saw it in the 2v2 tournament, actually. A little bit of poke from the archers. Walls are going to go up. So, like, the biggest priority for B is just to rush relics here. He knows that Dumu cannot mirror the tech timing. Dumu, if he scales archers now, the barded play is just way too good. Right? So, like, Dumu has to be careful not to nibble at the bait and blob archers for composite bows, which just seems like an organic play here, but against HRE's options, I don't like it. The best thing you can do is just try to rush castle himself and then prep to pump out a few camels, actually. And the cool thing is, like, the camel play is interchangeable with the lancer play, right? So you build the stables, and then you initiate with lancers. And if you then see your opponent has gone barding with knights, you switch into camels. Okay, overall, I actually think Dumu's pretty together in this one. Things can still get really ugly. Your opponent has got 7 scouts hoovering everything off of the map. Meanwhile, you don't have eco wing and you're locked in your base with not much food, right? Like, Dumu has... Oh, okay, he's got 21 sheep, but... It's weird that in my brain that still doesn't sound like a lot, because I know that in return, B is going to get close to 10,000 food in deer, right? But, like, this is still a lot, right? Having 20 sheep, that ends up being 4,000 food. No, I think Dumu wasn't going for free TC. He was maybe contemplating getting like an emplacement here. Love this. Really efficient walling. Okay, so this is kind of cool. It's something that stopped happening ever since the TC meta disappeared, and also since the wall nerfs. But if you guys remember, the classic counter to fast castle HRE was to build walls. In fact, Roos used to be the ultimate counter to HRE, because you, in the 2TC meta, you would just peel a few villages and get fortified walls around these things. And by the time you arrive in the age up, maybe 3 minutes later, the walls are still standing. So you just get all the relics. Looks like we actually do have the perfect guard location. Dumu, he only has 2 units that can realistically do damage. And they're both parked here, so B will have to walk away. Good quick reaction there, that's important. Not losing the prelate means he can just shuffle back quickly. And he's already got his units coming across. Love the culture wing choice. Eco wing would be way too greedy here. He needs efficient tech timings to push out. Because right now it's a relic race, and the race is truly on here. B has got 5 prelates flooding out. First relic already walking home, second and third to be grabbed in a second here. And there it is. We are getting the steel barding. This is a really cost-efficient tech, folks. You pay 250 resources to basically get 2 melee defenses and 2 ranged defenses. And oh boy, does your opponent feel it in the morning. Steel barding, let's put this a different way. Steel barding is like having armor clad for knights. Oh. Oh, that sounds a lot better, doesn't it? Because that's essentially what you're getting. You can get your knights up to 8 armor in Carcelage. Tech up complete for Dimu. He does immediately counter with Camel Riders. So this is the correct call. You're definitely going to need some camels in there. We actually have Lancer plus Camel Riders. So, you know, I've talked about this before, about maybe people quite often overkilling with knight production instead of camels. I get why they do it. The whole idea is that Camel Riders is great if you're against mass knights only, but knights can feel a lot better against some different targets, right? Like maybe archers, for example, because you have enough armor that they do no damage at all. So the extra health that camel has doesn't matter. The other really big reason why you see a lot of people go knights is actually for raiding. Knights are substantially better raiders than camels, right? Because they have the ability to 2-hit a villager. Meanwhile, a camel is going to 4-hit a villager, right? Very big difference. I do think the way you can justify rushing camels is camel handling, but most people are going to be quite comfortable waiting until like they're 10 plus units before they consider that tech, right? And even then, if you think about the charge the Lancer gets at the start of the engagement, it takes him higher than a camel handling speed. Going for attempt here, the Knights do have the barding, but will not want to fight against this. Yeah, it's just insanely painful to deal with, right? The unease plus the difference in damage. Remember, this is a 28 damage unit. So although you're mitigating up to a maximum of 8, you're still just attacking notably slower and for worse damage. Camel is going to get sniped out, though. Great micro there, and B punishing the villagers. That was sick. Dimu, I mean, the problem is he tried this budget approach of just cameling once. Great timing for B to just break in. In the meantime, while he waits, he can just top off the injured units. So looking like we're getting a 5 Relic HRE game. It's the only dominant position that B's on the verge of having here. Prelate needs to be targeted. Great micro. Dimu, he buys a little time here. More prelates won't be on the way in a rush because your assumption is you were going to pick that up. So Dimu can at least make sure the apocalypse doesn't happen. HRE with 5 relics is bonkers. Now, the one thing that will eventually bite him in the arse, if the game goes late enough, like this is HRE without Archon, so you don't have the efficiency, but I don't think it's as bad as people think. Pause that, folks. We do have a fight coming in. The Knights versus the Lancers. The extra armor surely should be making the difference here, though. Dimu, he just didn't have the production pacing to come on the front line. So even with more Lancers, it ends up being a fairly even exchange. I think Dimu's going to be left with, what, maybe 2 left alive? Okay, no, better than that. Well, this Knight took a coffee break at the worst possible time. So actually, Dimu ends up with 4 still alive. And I think that's because, yeah, B was too fixated on trying to intercept. Archers are going to trade out against the Camel Rider. And there is an Imam now queued up, so Dimu might still be able to prevent this relic from being grabbed. However, new Lancers are arriving. The Camel Rider should be dead. Surely. Surely. Nope. He doesn't want any part of it. I mean, that's kind of crazy. I think B in that fight earlier, I'm shocked that Dimu won that. Dimu brought more Lancers, but it almost looked like B frontlined with the injured Knights, and then he peeled them away a little bit too slowly at the end. But credit to Dimu just for kind of being fixated on that engagement, understanding how important this one relic's going to be. There's 80 gold for him and 160 gold less per minute for his opponent. So, we were going to say something about how the late game gets hurt a little bit by mine work. It's the prelate element, right? Like, because you have to add in prelates every 9 villages to remain efficient. The counter-argument I'd have is in the grand scheme of your population, it's not as horrible as you'd think. It's still kind of rough, but like if you think about an Archon, you can cap out an Archon at maybe, I want to say, most people cap it out about 30, 35 farms buffed. So that saves you what? Let's say 4 population on prelates. 4 population isn't insane. And you do get some other things in return. All pikes definitely I've talked about a lot for the feudal castle timing. But in Imperial Age, it's still +2 damage, which is percentile increased by things like elite army tactics. And thank you, yeah. 4 minus 1 in Aachen. So, like, the realistic difference in population efficiency is about 4. Swabia now coming, which is going to lead to a recovery arc on the economy here. Dimmu does have the eco lead for the time being by being 30 ahead. But remember, these farms are not cheap, which he's building. He doesn't get the discount. There wasn't an ecoing. B has avoided that farm transition. Instead, he's going to set up the Swabia first. Might even be able to start taking risks out on the berries instead of just switching over to farms. Look at that. I like how you guys love seeing Palace of Swabia so much. Don't you just love the unique diversity of choices the HRE make in the late game? You know, like we pick up Relics and then we pick Imperial Age. And then when we pick Imperial Age, as we know, everyone is definitely going for the L's back, right? No. This thing rarely ever sees the time of day. Why does it cost less again? Math is hard. So late game guaranteed, Dimmu needs to catch up. He is going the camel handling now that we mentioned earlier. So late at this stage though. I mean, does B really want to keep scaling knights? I can't imagine so, considering he doesn't have farms for late game economy, right? So like going knights is very cost inefficient. You'd probably rather bulk things that aren't going to die as easily in the fights, that can be more useful defensively, such as crossbows, such as spears. That's fair, actually. Like, this is a balanced game. Palace of Swabia may have made the tech cheaper, but preservation and knowledge. Look at that. Look at, he literally has the same thing. Now, I did hover on Trade Wing. I don't think this is a Trade Wing game. It could be. Eco Wing feels a lot more desirable because although he's got a lot of his farms already set up, getting an extra tier of eco gathering is really good. Like, you have to remember when they nerf the food gathering rate of farms by nerfing the eco techs here, the food gathering techs, they kind of slipped a little and forgot something because agriculture is still 15%. And then you add in improved processing, all of a sudden that just gives you the vomit of food-based units in the late game. Oh no, I'm not saying that Palace of Swabia like makes HRE the only civ with a singular landmark choice in age. I am saying that HRE has had one of the longest singular landmark choices in AoE4. Like, using Japanese as a comparison, we've had Japan for just a bit over a year, right? Whereas we had HRE for how many years? And at what point in those years was the meta L's back? Right? That's the thing. You know, even, I'd say you see more French Chamber of Commerces than you see Elsbats. It was meta. Really briefly, though, no? Oh, there we go. Yeah, the duration of Golden Imperial Ladder. Of course. How can we forget those wonderful times in AoE4? God, get me out. Mountain Pass Spring. Yeah, you never saw my Chamber of Commerce because I don't have a fancy account, sorry. Eco Wing coming in, though. So he is going to prioritize that food surge. I think it makes sense against HRE Minework specifically. If it was Arkan, you probably just go for the gold heavy focus. You have a lot more infantry potential for B, but he still hasn't solved that food issue. Farms are getting added in. You kind of have to be careful about where you place them if you want to maximize the prelate efficiency as well. It's weird, right? Because a prelate can buff 9 villages, but you can get 8 farms in a cluster. So you have one outlier. So you want to be really cleanly efficient. You almost have to stagger them in the perfect location. It's so difficult to do. Alright, one's if you think B's going to win this. Two's if you think Dimmu's going to take it. Because it feels like we're diving into the deep game. Guaranteed here. This isn't a trade wing play yet. Theoretically, it could be down the line. B also has a pretty good spawn in the way he's played it for the gold vein. Like, the 8k in the corner is more than enough with Regnits to get you into your late game phase, right? With Imperial Techs and Universities. Dimmu, he's also played to his 8k, so we'll see his as well. But, like, realistically, if you think about the things you're more like to produce here, I mean, even things like Gulums, right? Gulums have a bit of a higher splash to them in terms of cost on gold compared to MAA spam. So there is a risk that Dimmu runs out of gold quicker here. He has such a long time to run with. Oh, true. We do have a gold covered in the south. Army should be able to mop that up, right? Wait, is Dimmu just... I was about to say, we should probably start spending here. He has 4,000 food in reserve, and he's immediately going into agriculture. Which, remember, gives you even more food. Huh? One thing that Abba does have a little quirk with would be hand cannon near late game. It's tricky though. H3 get movement speed, you get health, right? And not just that, love that from B. So, Inspired Warriors, kind of low-key. This tech is sick. It's a lot better for Order the Dragon. I feel like most OTD games, if you're in the late game, don't have it. You've skimped. You've screwed yourself. It's a bit hard to justify HRE. The reason it's harder to justify the HRE, by the way, is like, if I'm Order the Dragon, 100 military pop is 50 units. My HRE, 100 military pop is 100 units, right? Which means I need more prelates to buff my entire army. It's also weird because with the prelate buff, it's a pre-fight buff, not an in-fight buff. And what I mean by that is the renew. Realistically, because of the way that prelates prioritize healing, you're not just going to keep buffing units with Inspired. They're going to start healing a unit instead. So if a fight goes too long and it turns into a lot of regular poking, I think that's where Inspired Warrior Tech starts to look really bad. It's almost like the best way to use Inspired Warrior Tech would be, let's say all your military is coming here, stick 2 or 3 prelates here, so they pretty much give all the champs a pat on the back as they send them to war. Like, yeah, buddy, you got it. Literally just be the guy at the door in the plane that pats the paratroopers on the back to push them out. And wait, yeah, Dimmu did upgrade his knights. Huh? Into mass crossbows as well. Maybe he thought he could raid. Healing applies the Inspired Warrior buff. Yeah, but the problem is, healing might inspire them. My point is, if you keep taking damage, you're then not buffing the rest of these guys, right? Like, if Focus Fire is coming in on, let's say, a tanky front boy and he's not dying straight away, the prelate's going to chain heal him, and every time they choose to chain heal him, that's 1 less unit buffed in this formation. That's the problem with Inspired Warriors. There's a lot of things that are a bit like this, where the inefficiency is kind of what makes them balance. So for HRE, it's that detail. We had the Japanese game at the start of the series where we said if you actually targeted all different units to Sohai Sutra debuff them, it would actually be a pretty strong debuff, right? So there's a lot of these different type of techs that almost feel like they're held from being OP because they don't interact optimally. And we have Silk Bowstrings. So very deep in the game, we've got a really cool switch out of Dimmu. This is actually his best case scenario. Archers plus Horsemen really is your bread and butter here. You've got so much food to work with. You've got composite bows. You can get the extra range, easy peasy. Meanwhile, your opponent's gone crossbows. Well, your comp entirely counts crossbows. And B has kind of overkilled it. 60 crossbows is a bit too much here. And yes, actually, that's a fair point coming out from Berliner. The quality of life change to Pro Scouts really just amped it up to be everywhere, right? So, like, yeah, with a lot of these type of monk buffs, if they were a quality of life change that made them efficient, I think they'd break the game. Like, I legit think if they made it so that when you spam Buddhist monks, they debuff different targets instead of all targeting the same one, I think that unit goes from F tier to, like, probably A tier straight away. It won't win you every game straight away, but if you survive the opening and get into the late phase, it's going to look really good. And we just got all pikes. Yeah, so remember what we said about all pikes? With EAT, it's percentile scaling. So these are vet spears hitting for 11 already. He's still got to elite them up. But, you know, even at 11, he's basically getting an extra 2 blacksmith levels in there off of EAT. Courtesy of all pikes getting him that high. Flash coming in, though. Yeah, this is not a fight B should be taking. He's got way too many crossbows. Kind of weird that Dimmu didn't chase that to the west side. I mean, I guess the issue is the movement speed allows the crossbows to disengage. I think he's more focused on hitting that gold. So burn through on the wall coming in. B has got all his active gold gathering happening up here right now. Actually, that's a lie. He's split himself pretty wide here. B, despite the fact he has got 4 relics, he has 45 workers on gold. I wonder, do we maybe see camel support soon? Camel support is quite the doozy against spears here, right? Like, even with the scaling of all pikes, if you get camel support, you basically offset the 2 damage buff, right? And also pretty nice in these exchanges. Like, the archer should already win it. It just guarantees the crossbows can't compete. Flash coming in. I don't like the look of this for B. If you end up trading, like, 1 crossbow for 1 archer kill, it's just not worth it. The horseman, I mean, it just feels like B is missing that line of spam and pushing. Dimmu is, however, missing the next wave. And yeah, it doesn't matter. Are you kidding me? B started this fight with, like, what, 55 crossbowmen? That just doesn't feel worth it. I mean, Dimmu is just trashing wood. You could argue that Rocky River is a weird map because we're reaching a stage in the game where actually wood starts to become almost worth as much as gold, right? Like, I've lost count of the amount of Rocky River games that get deep enough that you've got people out here gathering the straggler trees because there's nothing left. And we're not there yet, so Dimmu has plenty more to punt. And we have to remember, even before we reach that stage, Dimmu could realistically go trade. And with Abba, that would generate wood. Ironically, in a game versus B, Dimmu is now building a Springald. Did they swap names when I wasn't looking? This doesn't seem right. Stonewall's coming up from B. I mean, just look at the difference in their approaches on the map. B has swallowed up so much of the map, and Dimmu has tried to be incredibly budget about what he attempts to take. Well, there's only 1 Springald. Dimmu's like, I wonder if these are actually cute. Oh, they're not. B, I love that. Maybe it was a bait, guys. Because when B sees a Springald, he's like, oh, no, that's the OP unit. Just sends everything in to kill it straight away. But that means you dove in range of the archers that should theoretically be trading out well against you. Hand Cannoneers now joining in on both sides, though. And B's numbers are definitely swelling quicker than Dimmu's. Apology, we hit the insert key there. Seems appropriate, actually, because B is indeed seeing red. We'll have to slow things down. What you really want here now as B is the Inspired Warriors tech. Inspired Warriors is huge. It basically gives you gunpowder tech. You guys remember that one? We used to have that technology, and then it got removed, changed. But now with Inspired Warriors, not only do you get extra armor, you buff your damage by an extra 6. He almost hits for 50 damage in the melee. Dimmu admittedly hasn't got the melee infantry, but even into things like Horseman, that's going to sting. Shoves in now. Dimmu, he's legit just smashing Springalds. I don't think that's that good against hand cannoneers, right? Because it's quite a high base damage range unit. However, has B pushed too far? It looks like it. The men-at-arms queue may have to be refought here. Instead, we've now got him switching into the mangonels. Greased axles on both sides, in fact. So I believe we did just see B get it, right? Yeah. All right, guys, it's your favorite part of the game. The part where you throw rocks at each other. I feel like we've gone back in time. We're just stoning people in the streets here. This is appropriate, because some of us probably are virgins. We're too busy grinding 4, 5, 6,000 hours in AoE4. We ain't got time for that. Especially when your Rocky River games go this deep. Men-at-arms reveal themselves, though, and the Springald count is just not good enough here. It's not a choke point fight. This is going to break him, surely. I mean, the men-at-arms, there's just no answer to it right now. Gold gathering on the front side. New wave arriving. And I believe we're going to be seeing B on the verge of winning this. He's going to strike for match point. Mango Warp's coming through. Dimmu in desperation mode is starting to pull the villages. He can't afford to be without gathering here. Adjustable crossbars is still, what, 20 seconds away? But then you have to build the mangoes. I don't think he's got time left here. He's starting to push in. Gold has already been strip mined on the south side. Like, it is here or nothing at all. And although Dimmu has been holding on for a while with Archer Horsemen, if he doesn't have any gold to play with, Men-at-Arms will be the classic HRE unit that can just win the game. He's trying to go to Camel Archers, but I don't know about this. I mean, with so many hand cannoneers already, in theory, Camels could work. Very tanky unit. He has already got them elited up. If he can get enough of them, that might give him a stay of execution. The traitors from Dimmu have just been revealed at their infancy. That was all of them. There's literally one traitor left. And a keep drop now from B. He knows what's happening. There will be no trade in this game for Dimmu. Not if B has anything to say about it. So here's what we're talking about with the camels. 250 HP on these bad boys. And he hit like a truck. Not going to be getting that double damage into these gunpowder units, remember? Because it's actually bonus versus light gunpowder. These are normal gunpowder. But still, realistically, from a DPS standpoint, actually a reasonable exchange into hand cannoneers, right? It's not quite double the attack speed. But with it being about half the damage, you know, you consider the costs. I mean, these things literally require gold to pump. Admittedly, though, B has plenty to do with that. 5,000 gold still in the bank. He hasn't even tapped all the veins. That's about to finish, though. At which stage, if B wants to keep doing this, he's going to need trade of his own. Or hear me out, guys. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, B. You don't need trade. My bad. You've still got 4,000 gold on the map. I mean, if you're going to drop a keep, you might as well get your value out of it, right? Mangoes should be looking onto the camels here. After all, it's a ranged unit. Men-at-Arms are starting to just ripple into economy again. I'm starting to feel like Dimmu just doesn't have any runway left here. Right? Like, what's left to gather? We've got straggler trees over here. We've got a stone crab on the west. The stone doesn't secure anything. It secures your flank, sure, but the gold, the wood, like, these are the things that keep Dimmu alive. Right? And without gold, his fallback plan was camel archers, horsemen, archers. But now he doesn't have trees either. His tree lines are starting to look as bald as his head right now. There's just practically nothing left here. And any little that he can find, anything he can scrape together, the men-at-arms are already diving onto. More villagers going down. The eco leader's building here. And now we're at landmark point. He can start to seize these down. Torches out. He's going to force Dimmu to fight him. A lot of camel archers, but 3 mangoes should be good enough to deal with that. It's going to take a long time to kill this, folks. It does have a measly 17,000 HP. So, you know, just a little bit. Sometimes I feel like the Abbasids are overcompensating when you see the health on this thing. So much resource for B. You know, we always get used to watching B do what almost feels borderline cheesy, all-in, crazy strategies, but you got to remember, this guy was a Zerg main. And that brings with it a level of stick the straw into the map and suck it all up. If you want to be an efficient Zerg player, you had to be good at scaling beyond your opponent's base count and taking more of the map. And AoE4, when you get in that late game, it's exactly what it becomes. It's exactly what B has done to Rocky River here. Dimmu is running out of time. House of Wisdom's about to go down. It only took this long, not just because of the 17k HP, but because of the fire armor given to every building around because of this landmark. With that gone, the TC can be rushed. He's going to march in. Ben now officially out of time. He's trying to wrap around for the backstab here. But I think with just torches alone, you can end this. Dimmu needs to pull villagers. A little bit of hesitation sets in there. He backs up to protect the siege. Gets in just in time. The mango warps can come through. He just can't reach around, right? He's got the perfect blockage here. Camel archers aren't going to start diving, but the mango's going to keep focus firing, and another castle is on the way. Dimmu, a valiant attempt to try and stand his ground here, but it's just becoming too difficult. He just doesn't have a quick enough answer to men-at-arms. This unit with 12 melee armor doesn't care about the horsemen. The camel archers just don't seem to be clearing quick enough. Yeah, Rams now coming through from B as well. Anything to get that finishing touch. And another castle in. It's crazy to think that Dumu can't afford units. He has 4,000 food income a minute. But then you realize what the real problem is. 200 wood a minute and 80 gold a minute means even if he survives this dive, he now lacks the resources to replace. This is over. B is gonna be leading 3-1. Apparently, although this series didn't start the same way, it now feels like it's on a collision course to end the same way as week number 9, where B took the win 4-1. I mean, I've got to give it to... I think Ben's looked better this week than the last. I think B... I'd say outdrafted him last week. Right? I don't know. I wouldn't say this one is as much of an outdraft. I do feel that B got an edge, especially with his HRE Delhi opening. But there's been times of life. It's just this one looked rough. I mean, props to Dumu for getting as deep as he did. But what a sick play. The Knight Sparding just kind of shorting the Abbasid timing. Like, imagine that fight that happened over here on the ball if Dumu didn't have to deal with the extra +2 armor. How many more Knights he would have had? How much more push power he would have had? Can't fault him, man. B, he's a creative thinker. I mean, he's the guy really leading the way with this mine work idea. Even initiating it in matchups that it would be seen as overkilling. March in now. Dumu, it's just a handful of troopers left to defend. It's like leaving a chicken to guard the hen house against a pack full of foxes here. Oh, now that story's going to end. Feast more than famine. GG comes out. B. This man is looking unstoppable in 2025. It's a matchup that got Dumu the win in his semi-finals, but B is on another level. Ladies and gents, welcome back to the grand finals of midweek muster number 10. We are on the verge of completing the first third of our weekly esports circuit. We've just got so many weeks left to go. Man, it's been incredible. The support, the growth, the games. Man, these two have definitely been delivering. I'm hoping that we might be able to see some more signs of life here. Dumu, the HRE, is going to be on dry Arabia. Now, when we saw him get that Rus win, over Rus rather, it was on Bohemia. A little bit different of a map. But looking at the spawns, there may be options here. Dumu, he could look to go aggro with the forward spawn deer on his opponent's side and then defend on his own. So we'll have to see him. What is up, Yallock? I see you with the gifted subs. Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate the 1-2 gifters. Remember, guys, golden time to subscribe. We're back to doing these weekly all the way through to June/July. So I think we're going to be averaging probably 110 hours of content at least. Hey, thank you, Yallock. What I'm getting at is $5 to dodge ads. Pretty damn good. Oh, also on the YouTube side, as we can, I will be adding more and more of the emotes for you guys to have available to you as well. It just requires people actually subscribing. I'm kind of curious what people would like on that platform to do the, I think it's called super subscriber thing. All right, so Scout open up. B is going up to 3. Now, this has been described as overkill by a few players, but B and Cat in particular do this intentionally. The whole idea is they're looking to find where your scout is, and then they're going to cut him off in the rotation. In fact, look on the minimap. Look at the positions. You can already see that B's doing this. He's cutting him off on every single direction. So in the next 5 seconds, Dumu's going to be in the middle of a surround. And the whole idea is that that strips sheep control away from your opponent. Yeah, and he has scouted him, right? He got a glimpse of him, so now all he needs to do is cut him off. This guy will cover the south side, and this one will dial back into the northwest corner. It's a really cool play, actually. And when you know you want to go pro scouts, you get additional value anyway. But wait, B? Oh, no. All right, that, I think, was a misclick. That shouldn't be happening. Dumu, he's going to get 3 extra sheep. But you see the concept of what we're talking about, right? And, I mean, it looked like B maybe just didn't originally realize he'd seen the scout. But if he had made that correct rotation, that would have meant that Dumu would only have 6 sheep to play with going into Feudal Age. Which is pretty crippling for the HRE, considering in this matchup, usually you're going to be looking to open with maybe a quick plane to Rax to get a few spearmen out. Meanwhile, B, 10 sheep to his own. Okay, someone has missed sheep here. Yeah, I think we're going to get rotations down the side, which should give B the majority. How do you guys gamble, by the way? Okay, 59% for B. So Dimu, a little bit more belief in him than we've seen in some previous games. And yeah, you're right. It looks like actually some of them got missed. So Dimu, only 7 sheep in total to work with. Like I said, we will be seeing pro scouts, but you know, this maybe screws you over a little bit on the flexibility element of just how hard you can pump Spearman. And it also means now, if your initial deer grab gets blocked at all, you're in a really bad position. Realistically, this should never get blocked. This is actually a blessing for Dimu. You know what the scariest part is? I just realized we're getting Dry Arabia out of the way now. Okay, that's pretty orderly, right? That's normal stuff. You guys have seen that plenty before. Yeah, but we still have bridges and mountain clearing. And mountain clearing in particular is the type of map where wild crap can happen if you don't have a very clear plan draft-wise. And yeah, this Archon is just gigged up, right? He's got the golden range. The stone, you probably won't touch it. But he's already on the wood. Pro Scouts is on the way. Tech up complete on the other side. B already on his own Pro Scouts. And remember, the edge for him is he's already going to have scouts in a pressure point position. But the reality is, because it takes like an extra 45 seconds still left, Dimu should be able to kind of catch up. He'll be slightly behind B because B already has essentially 2 stables producing here. Or potentially, right? Like, he's got to get through the Pro Scouts first. But that's meant to be the edge. Like, 25 seconds wait per scout can be pretty rough if you're not beginning with the stables. Because the reality is, if you build the stables afterwards, like, let's say 30 seconds into Pro Scouts, you can get a maximum of 2 extra scouts out by the time you're gathering. And the final sheep count is going to be 14 to 5. Yeah, lofty edge for B. And they like doing this. We've seen this from Cat and B most frequently. The Canadian bros, the other ones that do it a lot. You know, while you're waiting for Pro Scouts, make the best of it. Use these guys to shove in. Because then that minimizes your time on getting to the next deer stack. So if everyone out there is like, I've figured out the meta. Oh, God, Pro Scouts, build 8 of them, do this. There's more to it. You know, there's a little bit more elegance to the strats. Dimu is already on his way home with the goodies. So here's an interesting caveat now for Dimu with the spawn. We talked about this being an exposure point. It's because B's first deer pack is forward. Dimu could pressure it. But because of the build order and the timing, the spearman won't be there in time. So now Dimu has this awkward choice between guarding the back deer, which is really far away, or protecting his own deer grab. You can't really do both. So if B just splits his scouts between the 2 locations, he's going to be walking away with something somewhere. Instead, he's just going to beeline for the south side. I think you get this one home, right? Yeah, you should be fine. Didn't even realize it as well. That was good. He would have ended up diving the TC and dying. So he might be able to at least stop one of the scouts down here. It's tough, man. Like, B going up to 7 scouts just makes him so quick on the clear. We don't have any move by Dimu, so he's just protecting his own. This is going to be a 50-50 split. Okay, I think that's pretty good for Ben given the situation. The sheep is going to hurt him down the line, though. However, because of that Archon placement, he can always just consider starting to layer in a few farms. So what do we see now? Well, realistically for B, it's always going to be that fast castle play. Dimu could try to play a bit more of the age, but I just don't think it's worth that much now. Because he didn't add in Horsemen, right? Without Horsemen, I don't think you have a layer to this to contain your opponent. Horsemen or Archers would have made a lot of sense. I actually think Archers could have been pretty sick here for Dimu. Especially when you consider the state of B's base. Like, he's got one tree line in range, the other one is pretty far out there. Gold is on the forward side as well, so you wouldn't have that pivot. The only thing that really B has safely behind his TC is the berries. Like, everything else is just forward spawn. Dimu spawn is crazy good. Yeah, I mean, he got exactly what he needed to guarantee that Roos wouldn't just bully him on the Pro Scouts. However, B is going to try. There is still 3 deer up for grabs, but with 2 spears here, realistically, you shouldn't get away with this. No, there's 2 more spears coming. So B's going to have to bail with the goodies. He's trying to use formation shuffling to get out of range, but This should be enough spears to block him. Okay. So keeps the scouts alive for the most. He did lose another one there, but basically having 5 gives you full vision on what your opponent does. Next step for B, he knows that Dumu's going for Castle Age. You can tell by the count of spears. So you want to basically spread your scouts out to see where he moves for first with his prelate. Because what B could do right now is if he goes for stables, he could actually open with a knight. Instead, though, he's just going archer ranges. Interesting. I think one knight might have been worth it. Like, just scaling a few knights in isn't the worst idea. But I guess he just wants to get that critical mass of horse archers up. He's still going back? There's nothing left. I got nothing left. Alright, so. Prelate's getting queued up. Oh, wow. He actually skips on the TC production. Interesting the timing as well, because it is actually quite late to do this. If Dumu had done this like maybe 20 seconds ago, extra, then he'd already be standing here for the Relic. Which is really important considering that B is going horse archers. And yes, destroyed value is a lie. So the little thing about destroyed value, guys. Oh, this one, yeah, that one, what? Okay, so what would have happened there is I think Dumu would have touched the landmark and it got... Oh, wait, no, sorry, that's right. When you cancel a landmark currently and place it again, it adds the cost of the landmark. It's really, really weird. Even if you don't lose any resources. Yeah, this is what I said before. Like, I'm actually half tempted to cover this. Maybe that's why I should put the sponsor logos, but there is some useful info in here, like the relics. Explain what critical mass is on a nuclear reactor. So critical mass on a nuclear reactor is when you have 89 owner Musha. That is exactly the correct amount to reach critical mass. If you go beyond that, you will go into meltdown. But if you hold at that level, everyone around you will die instead. Very important. So Japanese, take note. If you want to mirror that with horse archers, the critical mass count is actually 69. Compensated by 42 scouts and 0 knights. Glad I could have given those insights. We do have knights on the way from Dumu. Crossbows, pretty much everything. It's like, he's the kid in the candy store that just wants the mixture bag. 2 relics already home is a great start. The third one is safely behind him. The warrior monk is trying to contest that. I mean, he should be able to, right? There's no way Dumu gets there quicker. So he's going to have to pull troops. Unfortunately for him, with horse archers already patrolling around here, I don't think you can stop this warrior monk. Can you refund your sub off that? No subs. Wait, no subs, no refund. If you refund, I retire from streaming and become... I don't know, what's the cringe thing that no one does anymore? Was it Vinyl? I'm trying to remember the platform. A Vinyl content creator or something. Okay, Knight has at least found the warrior monk, but I don't know about this. And there's horse archers in range. Yeah, so you are going to end up losing your boy. High trade outs, by the way, 112 gold. Pretty underwhelming. Wait, is this knight actually going to get the kill? That's kind of ridiculous. The men-at-arms are actually going to bear away the spearman. Oh, but the knight peels off. He wouldn't have had enough damage without a charge. Archers are now here with crossbows, so B needs to run home fast. But with another knight coming, Dumu just needs to run straight past them. Unfortunately, unable to do so, so it looks like it is indeed going to be a 3-2 split for B. There is still one more relic on the north side, but he's got a second warrior monk to go for it with. Interesting choice to go men-at-arms against HRE, though. That's the dream, right? B was trying to get cheeky here. He wasn't expecting Dumu to just mass into crossbows. He thought it was going to be archers, because usually, like, if you think archer or crossbows, you could argue, like, equal numbers, crossbows better against horse archers. But equal numbers is not how it works, right? These are more expensive. So B was clearly expecting mass archers out of Dumu. Instead, Dumu has a very healthy comp ahead of him because men-at-arms crossbows. Men-at-arms don't have the heavy maces yet, so not too impactful here. The crossbows are getting tied down by the horse archers. You kind of need to be stepping them away to bait the horse archers deeper like he's doing now. Warrior monk around the back is at least not going to be buffing the main fight, which is important. But the main fight is looking good for B. Yeah, he's just keeping the crossbows away from this engagement, which was why the men-at-arms for Rus are winning. I think Dumu's hemorrhaging way too much here. It's the Congo line of death, right? There's enough horse archers to almost insta-snipe the range units. And this is not good, folks. We've got a farm transition now coming from Dimmu. He's out of deer. Meanwhile, for B, I mean, he's still got a little bit of food to work with here because horse archers are a lot less demanding on that front. Dimmu shouldn't die straight away necessarily here, but it's definitely Grim Tides. 12 men at arms, 13 horse archers. He can block that tree line. Dimmu with only 3 crossbows. You can't help but feel that fight to try and reclaim that relic has put him on the ropes. And that rope may be about to slip around the neck. Farm area now going to get idled out. He could end up losing a few villages in the process. The Knights are at least a sturdy front line for the time being. But as you back up like this, notice what happens. The only reason you're not going to lose this fight is because your villagers are going to die instead. Great micro as well. B intentionally targeting them down now. I mean, this looks over. Dimmu is in such a painful position here. The farm transition is half complete, but not fully there. B has still got some work to do, which is why I said this looks mostly over. He doesn't have a resolution to long-term food supply. That's why he's now taking risks out into the boar. This is what Dimmu needs to identify. It's what he needs to snipe. But if wooden fortresses go up, one knight is not going to do it. And do I like green tea? I enjoy some green tea. Rooibos tea is the thing I drink a lot of. Good old red tea. Yeah, we have our green teas. Very healthy. But I also have my Red Bull. Oof. And B, apparently, the thing that sustains him week to week is midweek muster. I'm pretty much paying for this guy's rent at this rate. Dive on in. I mean, the crossbows are just getting focus fired every time, so the men-at-arms last longer. Dimmu just doesn't have a way of gathering anything. And that means we're going to be kicking off 2025 with a month that's going to look completely dominated by B. If he wins next week as well, I think that puts him on a collision course for the highest win streak in midweek muster. In fact, I'm double checking the results now. I think Puppy Paw had a win streak record of 5. Yeah, he took 1 week off, but Puppy Paw won week 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7. B starting the year off in style. Remember, he got 2nd place in the All-Stars over Christmas. He's now going to be on a 3 win streak. Villagers being pulled. I mean, Dimmu. At this stage, we are in full desperation mode. And yeah, Anatan, time to sign up, mate. B ain't needing to hide any strategies. No, no, no. None of this. Oh, I need to hold on to this secret. Nah, just get in there. Use it in an experimentation zone. I feel like that's what B's done in a way. A lot of creativity coming out of this lad. Dimmu, once again, is going to be pipped at the post. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Damn. I'm impressed, man. And look at that. There's a reason for people to be tuning in next week. Anatan apparently is coming back. Looking forward to having you, my friend. B versus Anatan is historically someone that's always been entertaining. We've seen Cat versus B entertaining, and Dimmu versus B definitely series that can deliver, but so far, unfortunately for Ben, it's been unable to deliver him an outright victory. 4-1 storyline. I still think there's an improvement here in that Dimmu, I don't think he got outdrafted hard like last time, but man, just can't fault B. Even when you look at his performance in the EGC tournaments, it's not like he's pulling punches here. It's not like this is a misrepresentation of his talent, right? Like we saw in his series, for example, up against Vortex. This guy is looking to reach a new all-high, I'd say, going into 2025. And with what we've been seeing in these weeklies, he's off to a bloody brilliant start. At this point, Dimmu knows it's over, right? He's down to 26 economy, but this is the last game. So he might as well just play it out and see if maybe, just maybe, B is out of resources, if there isn't another layer to the cake. But just like a delicious cake, B is ready to keep gobbling it all up. I mean, this is kind of painful. You're like, yes, I've pushed him away. There's no way he's got any... Oh, there's more. There's always more Pew Pew ponies. And what is up, Yalok? Thank you very much for the gifted sub, mate. Also, keep in mind, like, even if Dimmu somehow stays alive, it's now not enough because of sacred sites. god. Kind of brutal, because we said Dimu's spawn was good, but that's actually one area it sucks in. He didn't have any, like, back safe food beyond the deer. And in a Pro Scouts meta, like, that doesn't feel like an upside, if you know what I mean. Like, you'd rather have some berries or a boar back there or something. Like, these berries on the front side have just revealed how weak he really is. But if you like what you've been seeing, guys, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We've still got 20 more weeks of midweek muster ahead of us. But for now, it really has become the B playground.